So I'm just sort of scraping this off, and you can use even a spoon. I'm just using a paring knife. We'll get most of it off, and I'm going to actually take off the stem as well. The stem you can save, you can use that in the dish. So now I'm just left with this cap, without the gills, and then the top. And that way it's a lot easier to give it a wash. Now the portobello mushrooms actually are pretty clean. They're not, in the grocery store, they're not too bad. It's the ones that are usually forage that you usually have a lot of like soot or like soil on it that you want to take off. But there we go. So now our mushroom is prepared, ready to go, ready to grill. So I'm using, this is our sort of faux grill. This is our little cast iron grill. So we're imagining we're on the barbecue. And I'm just going to add just a little bit of any vegetable-based oil. I'm using olive oil. I was going to say I am olive oil. With the amount of olive oil I've consumed, I'm probably part olive oil at this point. So just a little bit on the bottom side, and we're going to place that on top of the grill. Okay. Yeah. If I was doing this, in a saute pan, I do the exact same thing. The important thing is that we want sort of a higher heat. We want to get some nice grilling marks on there, and then, you know, once we get that grill mark on there, we can transfer it to a lower heat on a stovetop or on the barbecue. Put it onto the side that actually has no heat. So have one side of the barbecue that has a high heat, and then one side that doesn't have any heat, and then you just close the lid. So 2 minutes per side on the grill, high heat, off the heat, lid, close for about 10 minutes or so until it's nice and grilled.
And that's important for anything that you're putting on the grill. If it's meat, poultry, fish, and this is because the fat that's contained inside those proteins, when it's in contact with the flame, it can become carcinogenic, right? So those are the ones that you want to decrease. So you want to avoid that high heat on any type of fat, because that's kind of will cause the carcinogenic substances. Okay.
Is that animal-based foods?
Mostly, yeah. Good question. So that's mostly animal-based foods. So vegetables is okay to get those grill marks. Fruit as well. And if you're doing like a tofu or a tempeh, so anything that's plant-based. So those ones are okay. Those ones are safe. But I know we're not making meat today or any type of animal-based protein. But I did want to just share some of those tips because it is barbecue season and it's important to kind of be aware of that.
All right, so pretty simple, not doing too much to it. We're just gonna let it cook, let it do its thing. Then I'm gonna move on to the second part of the recipe. We're gonna make a really nice sun-dried tomato pesto. Before I get into that, I'm gonna slice up a little bit of the shallot. You can use any, like even red onion, any onion. I'm gonna add this later. This is sort of our garnish. This is optional, you don't have to do it, but we're gonna get a little chefy here. So I'm just slicing it thinly into little rings. They are wheels, so they'll try to run around on the cutting board there. Just a few of them. We'll put them into a bowl, and I'm gonna get some lemon juice on top of that. So we're almost like lightly pickling these little shallots. This is actually a really nice way to treat onions if you don't like the heat from raw onions. If you add a little bit of acidity to them, either from vinegar or from citrus, it actually mellows out the heat quite a bit. So I'm not a big fan of raw onion because I think it overpowers everything. So I usually do that to most of the onions that I dress for like salads or cold preparations. Okay, now for the pesto, we're gonna start off with some sunflower seeds. So pesto usually has like pine nuts or some sort of nut. I'm actually opting out using the sunflower seeds. I really like the flavor of the sunflower seeds. Plus, pine nuts are almost the price of gold at this point. They're extremely expensive. So sunflower seeds is actually a really nice substitute for that. So add a few in there. We'll add it all. Why not? Might as well. I'm going to add a clove of garlic to this as well. I'm just going to give it a nice smash. Skin comes off. And we'll put those garlic pieces in there. And then the sun-dried tomatoes. Now the sun-dried tomatoes, if you buy them sort of softened, already packed in oil, they're already ready to go. You can just add them to here. If you buy the ones that are, sometimes they come very dried, like in bulk, you just want to cover them with some hot water, almost like you're steeping it, and that'll reconstitute the tomatoes and make them nice and soft.
And so, we always advocate for more of that plant-based diet. One that focuses on those fruits and vegetables, the nuts and seeds, beans, legumes, etc. And the reason being for that is because of the phytonutrients. So these are basically compounds within any type of plant-based food, specifically fruit and vegetables, with the color that helps protect your cells, okay, against any kind of carcinogenic formation. Now, there's tons and tons of phytonutrients. I don't need to bore you with all the names, and they are quite long that I can't even pronounce at times. But basically, the color of your vegetable or fruit is a clue to what type of phytonutrient you're going to be eating. So for example, anything that's white, that's like in the onion, leek, garlic family, those are known as alleles. And anything that's red, does anyone know what phytonutrient that is called? Lycopene, correct. So anything that's red, so that includes things like watermelon, guava, tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes. This is high in lycopene, and there has been evidence showcasing that this helps reduce the risk of the progression of prostate cancer. So up to 30 milligrams of lycopene per day. Fun fact, if the tomatoes are cooked and added with olive oil or any type of oil, the lycopene is actually better absorbed in the body. So just something to note. So that's why we've chosen a recipe today that has your lycopene using sun-dried tomatoes.
Beautiful. And speaking of the oil, we're going to add a little bit of any vegetable-based oil. Again, olive oil is great, but sometimes the sun-dried tomatoes are actually packed in an oil as well. That's almost like super flavored because it already has the sun-dried tomato in there. So you can even just add some of that in there. Yes, it does look like a lot. You treat this as a condiment, right? This is almost like a nice spread. Yeah, we're just going to add it all here.
And the other thing to note is, you always want to make sure that those phytonutrients are coming from whole foods as opposed to pill supplements. So that's one thing I always recommend. If you are looking at the supplement route, definitely talk with your doctor or health team to know whether that's something that's safe for you to have.
Beautiful. Okay, the last couple things, fresh herbs. Whatever you like. I mean, this is the time for lots of fresh herbs. Basil, cilantro, mint. I don't know, maybe not cilantro. Oregano. So I'm using oregano today. This is fresh oregano. Oregano is sort of a stronger, it's a woodier herb, so you don't need too much. And it is fresh. I can add dried, but I would use less, about 3 times less dried than I would use fresh, because it's even more intense when it's dried. So a little bit of that, and had that lemon there, so might as well throw some of the zest on top as well. This is optional, you don't have to do this. Okay, and that's it. Lid on. I broke my food processor earlier this week, so you don't have to insert a knife into yours. I will need to. There we go. And just pulse it until everything breaks down. I don't want it to be like a peanut butter smooth texture. We just want it sort of like a nice sort of chunky paste. Now you can definitely do this by hand. Go old school, get the mortar and pestle, start bashing it out. This is just a lot easier, much quicker. All right, so that was pretty quick, pretty easy. And we have this beautiful sun-dried tomato pesto. This stuff is delicious. It is great. We're using it with the mushrooms, but you can throw this in sauces, on like a pasta, on some like grilled bread, or make a, you know, I don't know. My mouth is watering right now. It's really, really good. The other thing that's amazing about sun-dried tomatoes, tomatoes in general, but especially sun-dried tomatoes, not only the lycopene, but that savoriness. Does everyone remember the word? Umami, yes. We can all say it together maybe at once, right? Umami. Oh yeah, love it. So it's very high in umami. And the thing about umami, the amazing thing about umami is when you pair it with something else that has umami, we call that a flavor explosion. Yeah, so mushrooms, high in umami, sun-dried tomatoes, high in umami. Yeah. Now we have lots of flavor that we're working with here.
And again, right, thinking about ways to decrease like red meat consumption, right, which is also high in umami. But we know that the research showcases that more than 500 grams of red meat, so these are things like beef, steak, pork, lamb, more than 500 grams a week increases risk of colorectal and colorectal cancers. So what is 500 grams? So if you look at the size of your palm, everybody's obviously is different, but the palm is approximately 100 grams. Okay, so the width and the thickness, so about 5 of those per week. You don't want to have more. So what can you replace those red meat foods with if you want that same flavor? Well, something like this. That's also higher in umami flavor.
Okay, so just a quick note, the sun-dried tomato pesto, you probably won't need that entire batch for what you're making. This stores really, really well in the fridge for probably a week or so, but in the freezer, that's where I would put it. Put it in a little Ziploc, flatten it, put it in the freezer. That'll last there for like 5-6 months easy. And then you can just chip off a little piece and add it as you need. Okay, so mushrooms grilled, did one ahead of time. So this is what it looks like. Mushrooms are mostly water. So as it cooks, there's gonna be a lot of shrinkage there, okay? So just keep that in mind. So if you have to make, you know, a few extra, that, you know, I'd probably eat like 5 of these, make a few more. But that's what we're looking for. Now I'm gonna put it onto a baking tray. I just did one just to kind of show you. And we're gonna add some of that delicious sun-dried tomato paste. Keep in mind, you can season the mushroom with a little salt and pepper. I didn't add any to the sun-dried tomato paste because the sun-dried tomatoes themselves will be salty. So we probably don't need to add any extra to that. So everyone can see that. You can, oh yeah, there you go. Got it on the screen, sun-dried tomato on top. It's good just like this, but you know, it's summertime. We're gonna add a little bit of cheese to that as well. So I have just a little bit of, this is provolone cheese. You can add any nice little melted cheese. This is optional if you don't eat cheese. And then that can go back onto the barbecue. Again, the side that's off, and then just close the lid and just use that heat that's coming on from the other side. If you're not cooking in the barbecue, into the oven. That's what I did. So into the oven until it's nice and melted. And we already have some done. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So
you could even put that in like a burger, I guess.
Oh yeah, that can be a nice little burger. Oh yeah, now you're thinking. Beautiful, fantastic. But these are delicious. If you don't like mushrooms, like I said, this is a really nice way to try them. And then get back to those onions. Yeah, so they're like lightly pickled. And the acidity from these pickled onions is going to just work really, really well, cutting through some of the fat from the pesto and the cheese. And that is, whoa, there we go. That's all good. That's it. All right.
Go.
So there we go. There's our portobello mushrooms with sun-dried tomato.